Hey, I'm Baz Boos, and you're watching RPTV.
Hi, my name is Clara Pasica, and this is the She World, where we meet extraordinary women doing extraordinary things. Hi, everybody, I'm Clara Pasica, and you're watching the She World, the show where we meet extraordinary women doing extraordinary things. Our guest this week is Tanisha Taitt. Tanisha wears many hats. She's a director, writer, singer-songwriter, actor, and arts educator. She got her start as a director when she took over producer of V-Day Toronto, which is part of the global movement to end violence against women. Since then, she has worked extensively with youth, and she has directed 20 productions. She remains committed to taking on projects that reflect the challenges faced by our society. And here she is. And welcome, Tanisha. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Fantastic. So as we heard from your bio, you obviously wear a lot of hats. Can you tell us what a typical day in your career is like?
Oh, a typical day. Well, there isn't really a typical day. I think that when you work freelance in the arts, you can be doing so many different things that you have no idea what you might be doing. If I am directing a show, my day is typically getting up in the morning, maybe about 7 o'clock, heading heading to the rehearsal hall for 9, and then usually working 8 hours with my actors. So that, involves a lot of discussion, a lot of blocking scenes, that kind of stuff. Then I come home and then I kind of go over my notes for the day, think about what we've done that day, and plan how I'm going to attack the next day. If I'm acting in a show, then it's really different. I'm in the rehearsal hall for just as much time, but I'm on the receiving end of the direction, not actually leading what's happening. And if I'm writing, I get to stay in my pajamas all day and sit in front of my computer and contemplate character and plot and how I want to frame the story that I've conceived on the page. So it really varies. And then sometimes I teach, and then on those days I'm usually with kids or youth all day, instructing them in drama. So it's really, really different all the time.
So despite you being here and you being fantastic female director working in the city of Toronto, there still aren't a lot of female directors working today. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that as kids, we kind of aspire to be what we think we can be. And I know that when I was growing up, every time I saw a movie or a play, under the word director was always a male name. And I don't think that I ever really understood at that time that being a director was possible for a woman. So I think that a lot of girls have that sensibility. That's certainly changing now, slowly but surely. And I think that sadly, a lot of the companies, theater companies, the people who run them, who actually hire the directors, the artistic directors, are male. And men very often kind of reach out to their own and hire men. So I think that we need women actually running the theater companies and having the vision to then go out and hire female directors. Why is it important? Because half the planet is female, and because it's so important that not just girls, but that everybody gets the female perspective on stories, and that the stories of girls are heard. And I think that there needs to be an understanding as well that being a female director doesn't limit you to telling female stories, which I think a lot of people believe. And I'm so happy now to see female directors who are just telling great, great stories, regardless of who the characters are or the gender of those characters.
Great. So let's say I'm hearing this, I'm like, okay, I'm a 13-year-old girl, I'm gonna do this. Tanisha has inspired me. Then I sit down in my class, I've decided this is what I'm gonna do, and then I think, oh God, like I'm intimidated, I just don't know where to begin. It's just such a big process, I've never done it before. I've been asked to direct, let's say, a 10-minute play in my class, and I just don't know where to begin. What would you suggest?
Right. First thing I'd say is to be absolutely sure that you understand the story that you're telling. Because people get really excited about making plays and movies and music videos, and if you actually were to say to them, what's your concept? What's the story? They couldn't actually tell you with any clarity. So really, really know what the story is you're telling. Get a sense of, in terms of, what the setting of that story is, so that you can actually put that setting that story in a physical space that makes sense. Who are the key characters in that story? And then once you know that and you have actors, I am a huge fan of improv. I'm a huge fan of playing. So put the actors up there. Once they agree on what the story is, what the arc is, which means like where you're starting and where you're ending up, let them play and see what happens. And you'll often find that through improv, great things happen. And if that's the case, keep those things. And the things that don't work, redo them, improv them again and see what happens a different time. And I have found that some incredible scenes, even working with adults who've done this for years and years and years, happen through improvisation. So my job as a director, and I think that a young person starting out in directing, know when to recognize the wonderful stuff that you're getting from improv, and then when you're not getting stuff that's that strong, know when to then kind of inject yourself with your own ideas and your own vision to help kind of bridge those gaps.
Awesome. What is your favorite thing about directing?
Oh, there are so many things. My favorite thing about directing, I think, is just being given a script, reading it, crafting a vision for that, and then seeing that through to completion. There's something incredibly satisfying about that. You fall in love with a character, you fall in love with a story, and you start to get these ideas, and then you come up with a team that's going to help you realize those ideas. You hire your actors, you hire your design team, and then collectively, this vision that you had in your mind starts to unfold before your eyes. And then suddenly you're at opening night, and what you conceived is there, sometimes even better than you conceived it. And to kind of stumble through that whole process with all of its challenges, and all of its triumphs is the most fulfilling thing for me.
What's the most challenging thing?
The most challenging thing, I think, as a director is those moments that you have when you're not sure what to do. And I think everybody has them, and it's nothing to be afraid of. It's part of the process. And I love working really collaboratively, and that helps, because there are moments when I'll get to a scene and I'll just think, don't know, guys. And I will tell the actors that, I'm very open that way. And then those are very often improv moments. It's like, whatever comes to you in this moment, let's see what it looks like. And they'll get up there and they'll kind of stumble their way through something. And it may be 99% awful, but there's something in it that worked. And then that can be the seed that often will trigger the idea that works fully.
Oh, and that sound actually means that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you.
We'll be seeing more of you in a second. But it's time for challenge time, guys. Let's see what we've got this week. Let's see what we've got this week. Clara, your challenge is pitch a re-envisioned Cinderella and Goldilocks to an artistic director of a theater company. Hey, here we go.
Hi, Clara.
Hi.
I'm the artistic director.
Great.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
I heard that you are an up-and-coming director with some great ideas to pitch.
I hope so.
And I heard that the first one was a re-envisioned Cinderella.
Yes.
Okay, I've got a couple minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, just a couple minutes. Okay, so in this version of Cinderella, Cinderella and her father are sponsored immigrants, being sponsored by the stepmother and her family. So they're fleeing their homeland, and they come to Canada to live with the stepmother. And this creates a sort of economic dependence that her father has on the stepmother, which explains why they stay together so long, even though she's so mean. Then the father goes back to their homeland to bring the mother over now that he's been in Canada for the right amount of time. But while he's there, a plane crashes, and then Cinderella is an orphan.
Wow. And did you want to depict this plane crash in the show?
Well, probably.
How would you do it?
Maybe with like a plane from wires or something.
Oh, so you actually want to hang a plane, rig it from the ceiling?
Well, I guess.
Okay, that's a challenge. It's expensive. It's a little bit complicated. Do you know that as a director, there are ways that you can relay that differently using maybe only sound and lights?
Huh.
So what you could do is you could have a sound effect of a plane crash, which can be really, really intense, and it can actually swell and fill up the whole room. And you can have like a very intense, maybe bright light to illustrate the plane going down, right? So there could be something that doesn't involve a physical plane at all, but that relays very clearly to the audience what was depicted in that scene.
Huh, cool.
Cool, but I like the idea. I think the idea of the
Thanks.
immigrant thing is a really interesting take on it. You had another idea, I believe it was Goldilocks and the Three Bears?
Yes.
Okay, give me that one.
Okay, so in this version of Goldilocks, it's actually about the way humans intrude on animal habitats and take their food sources.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So are we going to be kind of villainizing Goldilocks in this version?
Yes,
Wow, that's risky. Because I mean, she's a heroine,
and she is the human. Yeah.
right? Okay, I think the only concern that I see here is that Goldilocks is traditionally the heroine. So if you're going to make her the villain, we have to have a really clear protagonist, someone that the audience can root for in the story. So is that
Okay.
going to be the baby bear? How are we going to have the audience make an emotional investment in the story if the
Right.
heroine is now the villain,
Right.
right? So that's just a narrative thing for you to think about. But again, the whole idea of the human invading the animal's domain is really fascinating. I think you have, as a director, some really original and exciting ideas.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, it'll be up to you at home to decide whether I've passed that challenge. But that's all the time we have for today. You've been watching The She World. I'm Clara Pasica, thanks to our amazing guest, Tanisha. And just remember, be extraordinary. I dare you.